Hey y'all, Coach Jay here, also known as Jasmine. I'm here to just spread some love during Grief Awareness Week. About a year ago, I lost my mom, so I just want to share my journey, my testimony, and just shed some light. As we know, grief can be complex, and so here is my story. Hopefully, it helps somebody. Here we go. I experienced grief at a young age. Just a little backstory. I lost my father when I was 7. And so that was the first part of me experiencing grief. And then I feel like after that, there was, as I gotten older, there were different people and close people that had passed. But then not knowing that I was going to lose my world, the one who, although my dad passed when I was 7, from 7 all the way to 32, I had my mom. And so we helped each other through that. And I lost my dad, she lost her husband. And so we helped each other through that. And so when I lost her in July of 2024, grief took me for a loop. And I also was in a different age bracket, 7 to 32, two totally different time spans, two totally different ages and feelings and emotions and things like that. Losing my mom, it threw me. It threw me. Grief threw me. Um, Definitely has changed me. I will say, and I will be honest, for some good, some bad. But as I stated previously, grief is very complex. There is good, there is bad, there is ugly all to it. And I've experienced it all. I've experienced it all. Um, I initially did not really want to get help. I figured that I can do this on my own. I didn't know how I was going to be able to do it, but I figured I can do it on my own. And that's when I knew that I couldn't. I couldn't handle this task or handle this pain and this hurt by myself. So I ended up going to Grief Share, and I ended up doing a grief support group for 13 weeks. Me and my godmother, whom is my mom's best friend of 30 plus years. So we did it together. She asked me, she said, "Hey, would you like for me to join you in this?" And, also her going through her grief and me going through my grief, we did it together. And I will say that that helped and that shaped a lot of how I can stand on my 10 now, because I had the support and the help. And then none other, the village, the family, God is always at the forefront. And every time I speak of God, my mom is right here on my shoulder, because that was, no matter what, God is going to work it out, and God is going to be the one to comfort and strengthen you. And when I say those words, when I hear those words, I think of nothing but her, because my mom always instilled in me to keep God first, to never forget where you come from, always stay in your word and be rooted and grounded. Talking with my mom, that's the thing that I miss most. We talked every day. And when I say every day, I mean every day. Sometimes multiple times a day. She would call me during her lunch breaks. I would call her during my lunch breaks. And we would just talk about everything, especially if it was during lunch. That was my chicken nugget buddy. She would be like, "Girl, you got the McDonald's app. You know the nuggets is $1.99 today." So, and then I would be like, "Yep, mom, I got the app." So conversations like that. We loved our crime shows. She put me onto Law and Order, SVU, anything crime. Right. And we're talking about Peggy here. Y'all know Peggy was this sweet angel, but she loved her crime shows. She loved SVU, CSI, Chicago Fire, Med, all those type of things we would just talk about. And then, of course, our mom and daughter conversations were always to the T. She always made my days better, always helped me through hard times and things like that. So conversations were always, always, always on point with my mom. And those are the things that I definitely miss. Picking up the phone, seeing her, Oh, one thing is her ringtone. That's how I knew it was always her. It was Tupac, Dear Mama. And of course my mom, she know Tupac, but she don't really listen to that type of stuff. But I knew it was her when she called because it was a picture of me and her, and I would hear Dear Mama. And every time I hear Dear Mama, that's how I think about, like, oh, my mom's calling and things like that. So the holidays are definitely different. When my mom was here, my mom was always like the first person there. We always would have Thanksgiving at my aunt's house, and Christmas would be centered around my god sister's house and my godmom. But my mom, aka Nana, to some of her godchildren and stuff, Nana was the first one there. My mom was the first one there, especially like for Thanksgiving. She had the peach cobbler. So she would, bring that first to my aunts. And because I would usually spend the night before for Thanksgiving at my aunt's to help her set up and things like that. So then my mom would come. And, things are different now because we don't hear that voice. We don't hear that, hey y'all, I'm here. We don't hear her coming in. We don't have the peach cobbler anymore. So it's definitely different. This is where the complexity comes in because it's a happy moment because it's the holidays. And um they're some of my favorite holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, let alone her birthday is in December as well. So, it's just different. It's different not physically having her here in the flesh and being able to hug and hold and, talk and laugh and eat and do those things. So that's definitely the hard part. This will be my second year going through the holidays without my mom. And so it's definitely the highs and the lows of it. We still try to keep things as with a sense of normalcy. As far as still gathering together, my aunts, my uncles, a few of my friends, my cousins, and so forth. We try to still keep a sense of normalcy, but we know that void it's still hard not having her there, and it's still sometimes even difficult, with last year being my first Thanksgiving and first Christmas. I still was around family, still, made my way to celebrate and do things, but it's still hard. It's still hard to pick myself up and have that pick me up spirit when it's like it's that reality of my mom is really not here type thing. So, we still keep it going. It's still hard. I still very much have my moments. I will share that last year for her birthday, I gathered most of my family, most of her siblings to come to Vegas. Fun fact, my mom did love Vegas. We loved Vegas together. Um, and so I decided last year that um, to do a dinner in Vegas and a balloon release, and I wanted everybody to wear purple and things like that. And it was very nice. It was very nice. Shout out to everybody that came. It was emotional. It was different, but we celebrated her. We went to one of the restaurants that I had a pleasure of taking her and my aunt to on a trip that we went to Vegas, and she loved it. And so we all met up as a family back at that restaurant and celebrated her. And I spent a few days in Vegas and, just took in that moment and things like that. And so I don't know what I'm going to do this year, but same for the holidays. We still plan on getting together, eating good, and just talking and laughing and sharing those memories that we still, have and can embrace with my mom and those holidays that we've had in the past. I guess I can say my why of why I'm continuing to even do the things that I do. I know I mentioned being Coach Jay. I started a business back in 2021, my life coaching business, and I was hyped, and shout out to my master coach that certified me. Love you. And I was wanted to hit the ground running and did. And yeah, I then did not know that. my life would take a turn a couple years later with losing my mom. And so, of course, when things were happening with my mom, I wasn't focused in the business at all. Business was the least of my worries. Not nowhere near. It was just like, okay, I'll post on Instagram here and there. I'll put a little encouraging quote here and there, but I just didn't really want to have anything to do with it. My main priority and focus was making sure I was there for my mom 100%, in and out the hospital, doctor's appointments, whatever it looked like. And not knowing that I would lose her July 10th, 2024 at 11:40 p.m. So after that, that's when I was just like, oh, okay, well, there's nothing more or less to do here. My world is gone. My world is shattered. Um, the person that would encourage me is not here. So I didn't really want to do anything. I didn't want to have, nothing. I just wanted to deal. Um, but then I heard her tell me, like, you got to keep going. You got to keep going. And this is what you do. This is what you're good at. Um and people love you. And I just kept hearing her say, you got to keep going. And that was my get up. That was my pickup moment to continue. And I decided to jump back in the business, and I decided to continue what my why was. And my why was to keep going for her and to keep her legacy going, keep both of my parents' legacies going, but mainly hers. And that's when I came up with the Peggy Greer Posey Scholarship. I launched it at the top of this year, 2025 in March, and I was able to put together such a beautiful way of giving back and celebrating education. One thing that my mom did love and she was proud of me of, and was there every step of the way from kindergarten to my master's. My mom was there celebrating and, you know, rooting me on and telling me that I can do it. And so the only way that I knew that I could keep going was celebrating and rooting someone else to get that and to give back. That was the one thing that me and my mom, we always, whatever, anything anybody needed, we were always trying to be that person to be there. And so that's what I did. I kept it going. Um, I also decided to form um, the my other part of my business, which is my hair oils. I started that back in 2021 too, and didn't think that it would take off. With me and my good sis, and then we shaped it around coming up with Crown and Glory, and always doing it in honor of my mom. And so the legacy, it keeps going. It's keeping me going. It is what I find joy in doing and expressing. And yeah, that's where I'm at. That's how we gonna keep the legacy going of Peggy Greer Posey. So, I've made it. I've made it. It'll be 2 years next year, but through this year, I've made it through the anniversary dates. I've made it through the birthday. I've made it through the holidays and things. And I will just share that, and I'm going to keep saying this, that grief is complex and grief is real. And grief shows up in very, very many different forms. Of course, in this form, we are talking about the loss of my mother and things like that. But grief is just grief is it's ongoing. And I will say that it's never going to go away. It's never going to stop. You're never going to be okay. You will be okay, but you're not going to be okay. There will be those moments of the highs and the lows. And something that I learned in my grief support group during grief share is that those emotions are always going to arise. And sometimes it is at the drop of a song that may play. It may be just you driving down the street. Sometimes I find myself just in my living room, and I'll just look at my mom's picture, and sometimes the tears just flow. Or sometimes I look at her picture and I just smile or I just laugh, because that's just a thought and things like that that is there. But it's complex, it's a roller coaster, it's ongoing, but I will say it is how you maneuver through it and what is surrounding you. One thing is positive things, positive people, positive environments, peaceful things, peaceful environments, peaceful, just it, you have to, because you do change, and change is necessary, change is uncomfortable, but with grief it's a different kind of change. Sometimes you change for the worse and sometimes you change for the better. My goal is to always change for the better and to exhibit that, and always be authentic in it. It's not going to always be easy, it's not going to always be fun, it's not going to always be a light at the end of the tunnel when you're feeling those feelings of grief, but at the end of the day, keep God first. Um, Stay in your word, talk about it. That's one thing that has actually really surprisingly helped me is talking about it. Or if someone asks me, well, how do how are you feeling, or how has it been? I'm not jumping the gun like, why are you asking me that? No, it's, I feel comfortable talking about it and sharing my story or sharing the different things that I've done to help me get through my grief, whether that is exercising more, whether that's line dancing, whether that's hanging out and doing sports. Because my mom was always, where you at today, girl? You going to a Laker game, a Rams game, a Dodger? Where you at? So still doing the things that she know, still living life. That's one thing my mom always encouraged me to do, is live your life because you deserve it. And so that's one thing that if I could leave with you, is continue to live your life, continue to do as that loved one would want you to do.